When you combine that resourcefulness with a good group of people that can hold your hand and help you, you can do it better. Like take all that figure it out mentality, that resourcefulness, that grit, and then combine that with a mentor. It's rocket fuel. And that's probably the biggest advice I'd give myself and anybody in that position.
If you're an entrepreneur who's built success but feels stuck in the grind, this podcast is for you. On the Live More Show, we give you short, powerful conversations to help you become more tax savvy, time rich, and totally free. Here's your host, Melanie Sigma.
Founders spend 60% less time with spouses, 68% less time with kids, and 73% less time with friends and family. And the average level of loneliness reported is 7.6 out of 10. If you're a business owner who's built something great, but lately you feel like it's running you instead of the other way around, this episode's for you. My guest today, Jason Seward, is a husband, a father, real estate investor, managing partner at 608B Capital Group. But more than that, he's someone who's learned to build business around his life and not the other way around. So Jason, welcome. Let's get right into it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you've left your successful W-2 career sales job to start 608B Capital. We all have fears when we're stepping into the unknown. What fears or doubts did you have when you decided to move from a successful career into something that was totally new?
Yeah, it's I don't know why, I don't know where it came from, but I have a weird relationship with like fear. It excites me. Like I get excited when things get scary or there's more risk involved or there's a bigger puzzle to solve. So I can't say there was like fear in the sense of, oh, I'm scared to do this. That it was none of that. It was more so like that's a big decision. I'm leaving a tremendous career. I've been there 17 years, was making a lot of money. It was allowing us to live a really comfortable, from a financial standpoint, lifestyle. And all of that, like it was mine and my wife's decision, right? So like, yes, I had that job, but me leaving that job to pursue an entrepreneurship journey, that affected her too. So if I had to pick like something that I was hung up on or a little fearful, was how it truly was impacting her, and that was probably my biggest hurdle to get over. And I'll tell you the story. I've told it on my podcast, but we got over that pretty quickly when, she was saying all the right things and support. Like, yeah, I'd support you. I trust you, all those things. But while I've never dealt with anxiety, she has, right? So I knew deep down that like she had to be feeling something that she's just not sharing. So we were in bed one night and I just said, Katie, I need you, like, don't be the supportive wife here. Just tell me what are you feeling? Like, does this make you nervous that I'm thinking about leaving my job? And she stopped me right there and said, and I'm gonna say it how she said it, me and the kids do not give a shit how much money you make. We just want you here. And that was green light. Like, that's all I need to hear, because that wasn't just, yeah, I support you, honey. That was, no, I want you to do this. And so once I overcame that, it was game on. I think it was 3 weeks later, I put in my resignation letter. So
wow. So your old job, did you get like stolen from home a lot? Were you away from home a lot?
Not that job. It was a demand. I worked for an insurance company. I had, advanced into a leadership role with that company. So it was a demanding job in the sense of I just had a lot of stuff on my plate. But while it was a W-2 career, I didn't own an agency. I worked for a captive agency, which means, I work for them. I have no ownership, but I made a lot of money, and it did not take me away from home that much, but mentally, I always had to be on. There was always something going on. And if it was just that job I was dealing with, it was fine. I could have managed everything just fine with my family, all my priorities. But then when I started ramping up my real estate side hustle, that's where I essentially had 2 full-time jobs. And that's where, not just physically, like I was starting to miss more nights at home and be busier on the weekends, but mentally when I was there, I was always thinking through the next step at work or in my business. So yeah, that it wasn't necessarily that job. It was the combination of now I've got a big business going and the job, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think our listener can really relate to that just because especially if you're a sole owner of a business, then everything rides on you. And so that's where you have partners. How has having partners in your business helped that? And do you feel like as you shifted from, it's kind of a two-part question. Do you feel like as you shifted from doing both jobs, your business and your W-2 career, do you feel like shifting into the business with partners has helped, or what's helped you not, I guess, steal your attention when you're at home?
Yeah. Just the workload is now I have full control over it. So like at the W-2 job, I had certain things I had to do to complete my goals and my tasks that I was responsible for. So I had a big team under me that I was managing. So their problems always were my problems. And like I didn't get to dictate when to shut that off or on. Like I had to be there and available and present there. So with my business, it's not like that. I can pull the lever as hard one way or the other as I want, and I can decide to immerse myself in it and think about only that, or I can decide to not do that as much. And that might come at a cost of revenue, might come at a cost of, less growth or whatever, it means, but it allows me to truly prioritize what matters most. And that was most important to me. So, leaving that job, it's not that I don't have just as much work to do or that I can do. Now I just have the flexibility and freedom to choose when I do it and when I don't. And that's
Yep.
the biggest difference. And the partnership piece of it, which was the other part of your question, um, Bill Phillips, my partner, and we've been partners before. We both had corporate jobs for years, and we were partners through that, building a real estate portfolio. And the biggest thing, in general, I'm kind of anti-partnership for the most part, but Bill and I, it's just, we've been fortunate enough to know each other for so long, and our skill sets fit together so perfectly, right? Where I'm strong, he's weak. Where I'm weak, he's strong. And it's a great marriage in that sense. So it has worked for us. So.
Yeah. I always tell people like with a partnership, it's truly like a marriage. And they always say in marriage, in a Christian context, they say to be equally yoked. But it's the same thing with a partnership, a business partnership. It's be equally yoked in the sense that you guys understand what your roles are, that you know what's your target at the end, what are you guys shooting for, and just the day-to-day expectations from each other. It seems like you guys, it hasn't affected your friendship at all in a negative way. It seems only positive. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it allows me to spend more time with one of my best friends. So
That's awesome.
There's nothing negative there, so.
Yeah. What are some things you guys did at the beginning of building your business that set the expectation that you feel has set you up for success?
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to when we were, again, working our corporate jobs, because actually 608B Capital started back in, I think, 2019, and that was just where we flip properties and our buy and hold, everything was under that entity. And then that evolved to 608B Capital Funding, which is our lending company now. But back then, and still to this day, we just have very clearly defined lanes, right? I couldn't tell you what Bill's doing right now. I couldn't tell you what he did all day yesterday. I know it's something to do with underwriting loans and doing loan originations and all that stuff, but my hands aren't in it unless he needs my hands in it. He can't tell you what I'm doing right now. He has no idea I'm sitting here doing a podcast, or when I get done with this, following up with probably 30 phone calls with borrowers and potential investors and stuff like that. So what's worked for us is we have very clearly defined lanes. We do our jobs. I never have to question whether he's doing his job or not. I don't care how he does it or when he does it. We just know that we're doing it, and he gives me that same grace, and that works for us. So
That's great. That's great. What advice would you give to our listener who might feel too deep in the grind and to step back and breathe? How would what would that be the first step? What would that first step be for them to just pull themselves out to breathe?
yeah. So in this answer, the assumption is that person doesn't want to be that deep in the grind, right? Because some people, they want to be. the grinders, they identify as a grinder. They never want to do anything different. And if that's the passion, by all means, be that person. But for the person, if you're sitting there and you're in a business and that business is scaling and you're making good revenue, but the only way that happens is if you have to be immersed in it daily, or you feel like you do. I would start and I do this regularly. This is not a one-time thing. I would start, kind of visualize like an aerial map, right? If you're looking at an aerial map of a city, well, that city is your life. And if you're immersed in it every day, just day after day in the grind to make that city run well, you're down on the streets of that city and you never take the time to zoom out and really, like, if you're riding down this street and a train's coming down the track, if you're on that street, you don't see the train, right? But if you're zoomed out, you can. So I would start by zooming out and really, like, not just thinking through it before bed or while you're in the shower. Go block off a day or a half a day where nothing is getting through and you're taking inventory of everything in your picture, everything in that city right now. And you're doing it from airplane view. And you're looking at, all right, I'm doing this right now. This is taking up way too much time. Could I, let's say I'm making, my revenue is 500 grand for the year, right? Could I give up 75 of that to hire somebody to take this stuff off my plate? Most of the time, the answer is yes, but you never realize it until you zoom out and you kind of plan for that stuff. So, to answer your question, a starting point would I'd say pick a day in the next few weeks, block off everything, tell your spouse, tell your business partners, or anybody in your life that you're not available for the next 6 hours of this day, and really reflect by yourself on everything that's going on in that city. So
I love that. Where if you zoom out, you get to see where the traffic jams are, where there's construction needed or going on. And
exactly right.
we work with a coach, and what they say is begin with the end in mind.
Yes.
And so it's kind of that same concept is what is your end target and what are the steps you need to take to get there? And sometimes busyness in a season is necessary, but then other times you just get stuck in the grind. And so that's a really good practical step, and it's just being intentional.
And it can't be a one-time step. It's got to be something you revisit. I mean, I do this. I literally do this, now probably once a quarter, where, I mean, I'm thinking this way a lot, but once a quarter, I'll it's like, all right, what am I doing that's stealing time from other priorities that's unnecessary? Where's the waste? Where can I trim some things from a time standpoint? If you do that and kind of schedule it like a quarterly board meeting with yourself, right? I think that's very important. So
yeah, and the business is just a piece of it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So that's really great. We've read the book Scaling Up, and so they always talk about doing monthly meetings and then quarterly meetings, like you said, and then an annual meeting, and that's to work on the business instead of in the business. Yep. And that's that zoom out concept. So I love that. Exactly. What systems or habits have given you the biggest return on or biggest ROI on both profit, but also peace? So both of those things.
Probably, so I always, for 17 years in my sales career, and then when I got into leadership in that career, I let every day, every hour run me, right? And it's kind of cliche, don't let the day run you, you run the day, that kind of thing. But I wasn't doing that. I was so reactive with every second of my day. So, okay, I got to go here because this happened. I got to do this. I got to make this call because this happened. It was very rarely was it proactive steps to move the needle or to map out my day or week or month. It wasn't until it was one of my first Legacy Family events. And one of the members in Legacy Family got up and did a presentation on time management. And she shared her calendar, and she actually did an illustration of how she, every Sunday, maps out, like, ahead of time, her priorities for the week on the calendar. So she puts workouts on the calendars, kids stuff that, movie nights, ice cream dates, all that kind of stuff, fills the calendar with it. And then all the gaps is where she laser focuses on the business. So I started applying that immediately. And that was 3 years ago. And I have not looked back. And it has given me, now I'll fall off the track every once in a while where things get busy and I find myself being reactive, but it's so top of mind to me. It's pretty quick to get back to that Sunday meeting. A lot of times with my wife, we're just going over the family calendar. We use a big skylight calendar. I don't know if you're familiar with that,
I've
but
seen that.
it helps us organize the sports schedule, my work schedule, her work schedule, all that stuff. And so that has allowed us to really go into every Monday morning pretty much knowing how the week is going to unfold. And we're flexible enough to know that things are going to happen and we're going to have to tweak it, but it allows me to make sure the top priorities are getting done. So I'm getting my workouts in. I'm prepping my food for the week. I'm spending time with my kids and my wife, and then I'm spending the time block, as I've planned on the business, and I'm laser focused during that time. So that huge shift for me about 3 years ago, completely 180 on how I'm productive with my time. So
Love that. Was that Audrey Borcherding?
it was. Yep.
Okay,
Exactly right.
she was my coach at Leadership Boardroom.
Oh, really?
And
Okay. Yeah.
that's great. That's what yeah, it's awesome.
And I've never gotten the chance because that was like I didn't know anybody. I think I met her at that event, but I need to get her on my podcast. I have not had the chance to go back to her and thank her for that because that was so impactful to what I do. So
Yeah,
I need to
I'll
do
make
that.
an intro for you.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so that's great. I'll actually link that calendar in the show notes because I've seen that at Costco and I've also seen it, it's just all over. But so that's
We love it.
actually been a helpful tool for you.
Yes, very much so. And we haven't completely utilized it like for all of its capabilities. Like you can put your kids' chores on there and all that stuff. And I mean, it's fun for them to go up and check them off. We dabbled with that, but it has a lot of capability. And it's not cheap, but it's a big calendar that easily syncs up with everything else you have going on. So
That's great. What was the key mindset shift from when you made that 180 turn? For the listener, what did you have to shift in your mind to be able to be more intentional and build something that's sustainable and not just be so just reactive all the time? What was that mindset shift that you made?
um yeah, so I've always had the mindset of like family, relationships, myself, all of that is top priority. My actions didn't always match up with it because I was so reactive. So the mindset shift was um, really just like you hear it like be the CEO of your own life, right? Well, I wasn't. I was working for this thing that was dictating everything I did, and I didn't call any of the shots, right? So that mindset shift was no, I'm calling the shots now. I'm going to tell myself where to be and when to be there. And when you take that mentality and you view everything you do down to the bites of food you eat and the how you move and when you wake up and when you go to bed and when you exercise and all that, it gives you this sense of power and control that I had never felt, right? I'd always been confident, so confident in my ability to figure things out that I worked with this mentality of I can just figure it out. So I react to everything because I know I can figure things out. Well, I can keep that same mindset, but figure things out at my pace and under my power and discretion. So that was the big shift is just truly taking ownership of every second of every day.
That's great. Sometimes it's easy to make that shift, but then it's hard to stay consistent with it.
Yep.
I know, is something I struggle with. So it's just
It
those
is.
constant reminders.
Yep.
And that's where those quarterly zoom out times where you get to zoom out on everything and go, have the way that I've been acting, does it line up with what I want? And so those things
Yeah.
together is very powerful. And I want the listener to make sure that they get that. So thank you for that.
And one extra piece that helps me is I have some very important people in my life. My wife, I talked about Bill, my business partner. I've got a couple really good friends, mentors that I'm very vulnerable with them and sharing like what I'm trying to achieve here. And they'll check me like, hey, that doesn't align with truly what you say. And okay, well, let me tweak it a little bit. And I give them full authority to check me. right? Like, hey, Jason, you're not really acting in a way right now. You're getting a little off course. Okay. Thanks for that. Let me reassess. Let me zoom out and figure this out and do it again. And so I think aligning yourself with a core group of people that truly know you and what your intent is, and then them having the freedom to tell you when you're getting off course, that's been big for me. So,
And having the humility to accept when they
yep,
correct you, right?
100%. Yep.
Awesome. What is a perfect, so our show is the Live More Show, because at One Stop Tax Strategist, we bring peace to taxes and purpose to profits to help you live more. We get into business to live more, not to live less, but so many people get caught up and live less. What does a perfect live more day look like for you? One that's balanced. I know you're into fitness, you're into hunting, business, your kids, wife, all that. What does that look like for you? And does it change?
Oh, it definitely changes. So if it's a summer day where nobody's in school and I don't have anything to do with work, we're gonna hit a beach or do something all day that day. But like a typical day, what day are we working? Today is Thursday, I
Wednesday.
think. Wednesday. So a typical day would be, my wife's a teacher, my kids go to that same school. We have a routine where we get up in the morning and, we do breakfast and we got music playing and we're dancing and it's not always pretty because kids are tired and they're grumpy but that's our routine. For about an hour, we're all together in the morning before they hit the road. Once they hit the road, I would probably, and this is my normal day a lot, especially this time of year. I go to the gym. I get a workout in, knock that out of the way. I don't have to think about it anymore. It's done. I get a lot of energy from that. I feel like I do anyway. And then I go in to 2.5 hours of focused work, like laser focused work. Nothing's going to come in to distract me. Everything can wait. And I'm doing whatever task it is at that moment that I need to focus on to move my needle in my business. So that is a couple hours there. Perfect day. I'd meet Bill for lunch. Like maybe we go grab lunch, kind of catch up on where each other's at with whatever we're working on. I'd go back to my office, maybe a couple more hours of focused work. I go pick probably a perfect day. The kids don't have any sports activities. My wife has nothing going on. And all four of us go to the woods and we hunt that evening. That one of them is hunting while the rest of us are just sitting there just together, and enjoying nature. Come home, grill some steaks, watch TV, hang out with my wife, go to bed. That's like and that's a normal day for me. So
Love it.
yeah,
Love it.
yeah.
And that's totally doable. That's the cool
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
And I think that stuck out to me is you said the 2 hours of complete focused work. Like that's not getting pulled from. And I think a lot of business owners, our listener, what they do is they get reactive, like you said, and they have that blocked off, but then something pulls them because they didn't plan for those surprises. And so it's the intentionality is what I hear in every step of that. So I love that. Awesome. What's one routine, mindset, or boundary that helps you protect family time while still running a thriving business? Is it the scheduling? Is it anything? Do you have to set boundaries with people when they try to come in and steal some time from you, or what's that number one thing?
Yeah. It's a lot of little things, but the main thing when it comes like my I have this visualization, and I used to do this when I worked my corporate job too. So this goes back for a while, but when I would cross that threshold from my garage into my house, I visualized like taking my work hat, my hard hat off, right, and hanging it, and everything stops with that. So what that looks like in reality, I'm not taking a hard hat off, but I walk in, my phone goes away. I'm not like and that's like, this is the boundary. Everybody in my business knows that, all of our customers know that, like, if it's after 6 o'clock, it can wait till tomorrow. There's really nothing that can catch on fire overnight that needs my attention immediately. So I just put it to the side. And yes, I might peek at it every now and then because, like, I do still have a personal life. I might have a friend text me or something like that, but I don't remember. It's probably been 3 years since I've opened my laptop after 6 in the evening, right? I just don't do it. So that boundary of like our house or whatever activity we're involved with, like that particular day, um, it gets all of my attention, right? And nothing's gonna. So I'm very stingy with that time, and I don't care how much it costs me in business. I never do that math. I don't do it at all. Like, oh, I could work to 9 tonight and make another 100 grand this month or whatever. I don't ever think that way. I don't think time to dollars, and so that's the biggest one. It's just checking out. I have no notifications on my phone. The only thing that can come through at any time is a phone call. I have to go into my text apps to see text. I have to go into my email. I have to go into Facebook or Instagram to see notifications. Nothing pops up on my phone. So that's another big one I've implemented.
That's a good idea. I like the texting. I didn't even think I mean, I guess I knew it was an option, but I didn't really think about it. Because that does help you be less reactive when you're not getting notified and you're choosing to go see it.
That's right.
Yeah. Awesome. I at the last Legacy event, you weren't there, but I got to meet your brother, and he recently quit his job and was able to come on with you guys. What did that experience teach you about creating opportunity for others and not just yourself? Because really, your guys' hard work has allowed him to do this.
Yeah, to some degree. So he's a rock star, like in his career and he starts with us officially on December 1st. So he's doing a little bit of work while he's finishing up his time where he's at now. But yes, we have built a business that has the opportunity for him to come work in. If it wasn't him, we were going to have to hire somebody to do the role we hired him into, like that, so that we're not immersed all the time in the business, right? So he just, through his success and the years he's spent in operations in his current business, he's the perfect person for the job. Remove the last name, like there's no better person. So it's not like we're giving my brother an opportunity. We have the opportunity, and he literally is the best fit for the opportunity. So now what that feels like, now putting the brother hat back on, like I have goosebumps right now talking about it. He's my best friend. I love him to death. He's my younger brother. We have a very tight family. There was, obviously concerns like, how's this going to work with bringing, like, I'm my brother's boss, right? That's a weird dynamic. And, but we've implemented some things within the business and how we're going to structure this to kind of avoid that conflict. And we're very confident it'll work. I'm very proud to have built something that allows my brother and I to be so close now in business and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's an awkward thing for me to talk about because I don't like thinking he only has this opportunity because I built something, because it's not true. He could take those skill sets and do something and probably make more money than we can pay him right now. But I do know that he'll bring enough value to build within our company. So,
well, I talked to him for quite a while, and I know he's super grateful. And I think seeing you do it successfully has provided him the courage to do it.
Yeah.
And so I know that he's super thankful and excited. And so that's the cool thing about business that I love to think about is if you create a successful business and you're good at delegating, because that's the one thing I've noticed with people that get tied up. For our listener, if you're tied up in your business, it's because you're not delegating enough. That's one thing. And as you delegate, you're providing opportunities for people that are good at what they do to excel. And so you're going to allow your brother, you're not handing him an opportunity. He's taking it and he's going to excel because his gifts will be used, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but you have to first take that step of courage to step out and build it. So that's the cool thing for you to, I guess, pat yourself on the back for.
Well, we're excited about it. So, and he'll be working for Bill. He'll be working for Bill, my partner, not me. So, we've structured it, and that's how it would be anyway with anybody we hired. What we're hiring him for is more operational based, and that's Bill's baby, and I'm just marketing, raising capital. So,
that's great. So, staying in your lanes once again. That's going to protect the relationship.
Yep,
that's cool. You're part of the Legacy Family Mastermind. That's how we met. And we've referred to it several times with Tim Bratz. How has surrounding yourself with other high-achieving entrepreneurs shaped your growth? You've mentioned already a couple things that have shifted mindset shifts, but is there anything else that surrounding yourself with other high-achieving people, how important is that for people?
Yeah, so this was another mindset shift. I shared the main one, but like I mentioned earlier, Bill and I were building a real estate portfolio for a good amount of time, very silently. We were not involved with any groups, almost like intentionally, because like for me, not so much Bill, but for me, the career I was in, I did not want the company I worked for to think I was building a business that was conflicting with my time spent with them, right? So I was my closest friends within that company and nobody else even knew I owned a house, right? I mean, I was very quiet about it. And so that kind of set a bad example and precedent for me thinking, well, I can do this very quietly. I don't need help. I don't need a mentor. I don't need to be in the rooms and stuff. So I had that mindset. It's terrible. I know that now. As soon as and I don't know what led Bill and we kind of at the same time had the same shift, but we're like, okay, I think it was because we were getting into some bigger deals, some commercial type deals and stuff, but we knew we needed a bigger education. So we started seeking out masterminds, right? And we landed on Legacy Family. That's the first thing we ever paid to be a part of. And immediately, like it didn't happen over a course of several months. It was immediately. We realized we had been missing out for quite some time. So we leaned into it. And what we were missing out on, for those listening, is it exposed us to a world. Our first event was October of 2022. And I was still working. Both of us were, our corporate jobs. And we were in Nashville, and I walked into a room. I was used to walking into conferences where everybody was just competitive. It was cutthroat. It was kind of crabs in a bucket, like pulling each other down. And I walked into this room, a very small fish in that pond, and every one of those whales just put their arms around us and was like, hey, come in. What do you have going on? How can I help you? And that led to so many relationships that are now good friends, mentors, consultants, all those things that have allowed us to quickly scale into what we are today. And like I could tell story after story and single out every individual that's played a big part. You've been a part of that with we had never thought about tax strategy ever. We just file them every year and roll on. But it just opened our eyes to this abundance mindset that neither one of us had been exposed to. We had it, but we had not been around groups that have it. And it's priceless. It's priceless. I can't put a dollar amount on it. We pay a lot of money to be in these groups. I get a lot in return, both financially and through relationships from them. So,
yeah, I would agree with that. It's an investment, and when you're around people that are doing things bigger than you, it makes you realize that it's possible, and so it expands your mind.
Yep.
Now, this is your chance to put your whale arm around our listener. What's a mistake or a mindset that you had early on that you wish or that you would never repeat? It's not that you wish, because it's a lesson learned, but what's a mistake that you made or a mindset mistake that you made that you'd never repeat?
I think I can just carry on with what I was saying. This mindset of I took for so many years, and I guess this gets a little more personal too, but like I was raised by a single mom. I watched her do everything by herself, right? And she like, that's how I don't need help. I can figure this out. And she did so great. So I had this mindset of I can do it too, right? I don't need help, and I don't need to seek out somebody that's doing it better than me, because they probably got there by themselves. So I'm prideful. I can do it too, right? So that I had that mindset until I was 40 years old, 4 or 5 years ago. And if I could go back to, me fresh out of college, I'd just shake the hell out of me and say, look, let people help you, right? You're going to move. Now, there is, to some degree, I learned a lot by being that way, right? I learned a lot through mistakes, and I proved to myself I can figure a lot of things out, right? I am resourceful enough. But when you combine that resourcefulness with a good group of people that can hold your hand and help you, and like that is, so speaking to somebody listening that maybe has that mindset I had for so many years, and you feel like you're doing it fine, you can do it better. Like, take all that figure it out mentality, that resourcefulness, that grit, and then combine that with a mentor that's doing, things at the level you are trying to get to. It's rocket fuel. And that's probably the biggest advice I'd give myself and anybody in that position.
That's great. How does your business at 608B Capital help other people live more?
Yeah, I mean, so we have two customers. We have our investors, our accredited investors. They're passive. They have no operational responsibilities. They give us, essentially, to simplify it, they give us money. We pay them monthly, like, for that money. That's it. And so, and we pay healthy returns. So for, you know, a savvy investor that understands what they're investing in, they can make, typically with us, better returns than they're going to make in your typical cookie cutter investments. So we're allowing them to multiply their money faster, a little less risky than a lot of investments out there. We have a proven track record of what we're doing. So that is satisfying to take we have investors that are retired in their 70s, and their monthly distribution from us is paying their bills, right? Now, I mean, they have plenty of money, but it's tied up in a lot of investments, and we're one vehicle that's giving them a monthly distribution, not touching their investment. It's allowing them to live more off of that money that we're providing to them. And then our other customer are our borrowers. And I mean, this can go all kinds of directions, but our primary borrowers are making communities better. They're going into Newport News, Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, Raleigh, North Carolina, and taking these old neighborhoods that have these vacant houses that are run down. They're buying them at a discount. We're funding that, allowing them to do it quickly. We're paying for their repairs, and then they're fixing them up to today's level standards. And now a family gets to move into that house and buy it or rent it or whatever they do with it after it. So, and that's not just lip service for me. I genuinely, truly, I get excited when I see the before and after pictures of the projects we lend on. Like, we played a role in that. So I get pretty passionate about that. So I'll stop there because I'll get to preaching here in a minute. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. Yep.
And it helps you have conviction when you're doing those follow-up calls and you're doing all those things that you're doing on your role in the business. You know that you're making a difference. And so that's great, is to dig deep.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I guess the third piece just came to me as we scale, which you mentioned my brother earlier, but I mean, we're scaling out a team. I mean, it's 4 of us now. Me and Bill own it. We have Tim Blodgett, who you know, and now my brother. And within 6 months, we'll probably be hiring more folks as we continue to scale. That's changing their lives, right? And the way we run things around here, we run it on trust. Like, we're going to trust you're going to do your job, and we don't care where you do it from or how you do it. We just want you to do your job. And that's going to give folks like my brother more flexibility to not miss his kids' activities, spend more time with his family and stuff like that. And by family, meaning me, right? I don't get a lot of time with my brother because of his demanding job, and that's going to change. So that excites the hell out of me. So
that's awesome. We have the same kind of concept with our employees. It's, if you hire the right person, they're going to do their job. You don't have to babysit them or oversee them, micromanage them. And so we give them flexibility as well. And pretty quickly, if they're not the right fit. So if they're not doing their job and they're taking advantage of it, then that's when you can cut the cord. But the right people, they're not going to leave you hanging and take advantage of it. So love that. All right. So if our listener wants to live more, but feels overwhelmed, what's the first thing that they should do? You said that, is it the zoom out activity? Is that, I want to make sure we circle back to what's the most important thing that they can do to automate, delegate, or delete this week?
I would say zooming out is the first like big step, but prior to that step, you really gotta assess and like take inventory of what is most important, right? Why are you everybody says you got to know your why and stuff, and that's cliche, and cliches are cliches because they make sense, but truly understand, like, I know that for me, what I have to do in this life, I not only want to, but what I need to do is be a good father, and not by paying for things, but creating experiences and being present with them. Like, my kids will never be able to say daddy wasn't home. Like, I am there always. So that's number one. Be a good husband, be a good role model, be a good leader to my wife and kids. All of those things are things that not only do I want and I need, I've got to do those things, right? And then in business, I've got to figure out in my business where my time is best spent to take care of all the other folks that I just mentioned, my customers and my team, right? So once I can get very clear on those 3 or 4 things that are most important, then you zoom out and do that exercise of figuring out what roads take me there the fastest, and what roads do I need to block off, and what roads do I need to expand, and what areas can I infill with, this or that, or implement different things. But you can't do any of that. You can't be successful in that exercise of zooming out unless you know what you're trying to see when you're zooming out. So you just got to identify that first. And some people, I interviewed a guy on my podcast recently. He's married. He doesn't have kids. His whole passion, he loves to work. It's all he wants to do. And if that's his passion and zooming out means he wants to be on every street, then by all means, go for it. But for the folks I think we're talking to, that's not it. And if that's not it, this is where to start. Like, truly identify what's important to you, what has to be done, and then build everything from there. So,
yeah, thank you.
Long-winded answer, but
it's a great answer and very practical. My goal is to have practical takeaways for our listener that they can go implement, this week and actually make a difference and to move the needle in their life. So thank you for sharing how you've built a business that gives you freedom and fulfillment, as well as giving others that same thing, not just more work. And so our listener, I do believe that they'll be able to take that activity and go implement that and hopefully make their life better in the next month, next year, and just trickle forward. So for our listener, I want to speak with you for a second. If you want to get in touch with Jason, all of his social media handles, anything, any links that he wants to share to help you get in touch with him, I'll make sure that gets in the show notes. So make sure you check that out. And as you do that, don't tune out. Let the next episode just roll over. It's going to be packed with just as much real strategies and practical takeaways to help you create more space, more focus, and more life to live more. So just let it roll. You don't want to miss it. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd ask that you leave a quick and honest review to help more business owners find the show.